choices for you and your family. Cook it, give it. You'll love when you live it. L-I-V-E, live it.
Welcome everybody. My name's Andrea Miller. I'm a registered dietitian and certified diabetes educator here at Community Hospitals and Wellness Centers in Bryan. I'd like to welcome you all to Live It Like an Olympian. And we have a special guest with us today, Dr. Kindle of the CHWC Pain Management Clinic. Has graciously agreed to take a couple minutes away from his patients and come down and cook with us today. So thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So it might be a little bit of a stretch, but the Winter Olympics is starting in a few days here, February 9th. Probably if you're watching this at home, it may already have been started. So Winter Olympics starting soon. So audience participation. Olympics. Where did the Olympics originate? Or maybe we should quiz Dr. Kindle. Where did the Olympics originate, guys?
Greece.
Greece, yeah. Olympics originated in Greece. And what do they eat in Greece?
Fish.
Fish, yeah, they eat fish. Yeah, the Mediterranean diet. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Mediterranean diet, which is excellent for your heart. Lots and lots of research on the Mediterranean diet at this point for decreasing your risk of heart disease, cancer, all sorts of stuff, inflammation. So in general, it's just a healthy eating plan to follow. You don't have to say, okay, I'm starting the Mediterranean diet tomorrow. It's not like that. It's more of a general eating plan, trying to incorporate more vegetables, fruits, whole grains, nuts, seeds, olive oil, fish, and lean proteins rather than red meats. A little bit of red wine here and there is okay on the Mediterranean diet too, which is my favorite part. And then I guess my other favorite part is a very family-centric plan. So much today we're going away from the family meal where we're all sitting together and enjoying food. And that's one of my favorite parts about eating, is sitting down and enjoying a family meal together. So poor Dr. Kindle came in today. This is actually my first time meeting Dr. Kindle today. So we've had no practice. We told him
As you
today.
will see.
We asked him about. I asked him about his cooking, and he said, I asked him about chopping basil. We're going to use a little basil today because that's another part of the Mediterranean diet, using herbs and spices instead of salt. And he said, I've chopped hot dogs and carrots and wood.
Concrete. Better.
Concrete. But not basil. So we'll have a little bit of fun today, hopefully.
Exciting.
So let's get started. We're going to do a Mediterranean baked fish, and it's in a tomato sauce. And the tomato sauce is just screaming for some pasta. So today, we're going to use a different type of pasta that our audience got to sample. I served it with a chickpea pasta. So it's made out of chickpea flour, and that's it. So at the least, it offers a little bit of variety from your traditional wheat. Lots of fiber in the chickpea pasta, protein as well, loaded with protein and vitamins and minerals too. And then our vegetable dish is going to be a sautéed Mediterranean vegetable. We're going to use zucchini, and then lots of Mediterranean-inspired flavorings to go with it.
Perfect.
Let's get cooking. The first thing we're going to do. Now, I wasn't going to make Dr. Kindle chop garlic, but he can put on gloves if he wants.
Recommended.
Because he does have to go back to work after this. So I have some garlic. We're going to chop up quite a bit of garlic to get started because we're going to use it in both of our recipes. And again, you're flavoring with garlic so you don't have to use as much. Oops.
Oh, garlic down.
Garlic down. So I'm separating my garlic as much sauce.
Excuse me.
All right, so I'm just kind of breaking up the cloves of garlic. I have lots of the garlic paper. Set that aside. Get these out of the way. All right, I'm going to give Dr. Kindle 3 cloves of garlic here.
Okay.
And I'm going to show him what to do. because he works long hours. You're at work until what, 7 o'clock at night, so your wife does most of the cooking, I
That's correct,
understand.
yep.
So we have a chef knife.
The crock pot does actually.
Chef
but
knife. So we're going to take our chef knife and we are going to put it over our garlic and smash it.
Just pound it?
Just pound it, yep.
Okay. Whoops. Knife. I'm bleeding.
If you can smash concrete, you can smash a clove of garlic.
Just keep pounding it? Oh my God.
And then give each one a good whack.
Jesus Christmas. Is that right?
Yep. And then, yeah, that looks great. So
Okay,
then
perfect.
that'll help you take the papery layer off of it.
Okay.
More of that papery stuff.
There you go.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And then I'm just going to run my knife through
Okay.
the garlic.
Yep, perfect.
Chop it up.
Looks delicious.
Absolutely. It's going to add lots of flavor. And health benefits as well. Garlic in and of itself has tons of health benefits for heart health and cancer prevention and you name it. So you just want it chopped as finely as possible. The more you expose that garlic to oxygen, the better. I'm making lots of noise here chopping my garlic today. Apologize for that. All right, so then I'm just going to put it in my prep bowl because we're going to use it for both recipes. So I'm just getting it chopped and then going to let it set for a couple seconds. Okay, the first recipe we're going to do is our baked fish. So I'm going to start by first of all, turning on my skillet, saute pan. For this recipe, if you can, use something that can go in the oven to cut back on dishes. The original recipe says to put it in the oven. We're actually going to do an experiment today. So who likes experimenting in front of a live audience?
Apparently I do.
We're going to try to cook it on the stove today, see if we can get it cooked through on the stove. But at home, put it in the oven. And I guess at the end of the presentation today, we'll see how it goes and see which one I like better. So we have the olive oil heating up. And I'm just going to put actually most of the garlic because we only need about 1 to 2 cloves in the other dish. So about 2 to 3 cloves of garlic in the pan, and that's going to start warming. And as soon as it becomes fragrant, we're going to dump in our crushed tomatoes. Burnt garlic gets really bitter, so you don't want to burn your garlic. As soon as you start to smell it, that's enough. All right, I'm going to have Dr. Kendall hand me the crushed tomatoes, a big bowl. That's a zucchini. Yep, that one. We have 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes. It's pretty saucy. So like I said, the first time I made this dish, I wasn't planning on serving a pasta with it, but once I saw the sauce and how much glorious sauce there was, I just knew that it had to be served with pasta. So again, we're going to experiment with some chickpea pasta today. Everybody in our audience got to try the chickpea pasta, but you could serve this with any pasta you want. Again, I usually recommend whole grains, so a whole grain wheat pasta, the ancient grain pasta that we've used in the past is an excellent choice. Or if you're just really not into the whole grains and stuff like that, you could use a white pasta or rice along with it as well. So this is heating up pretty quick. All right, that basil is what's going in here next. Can you guess which one's the basil? The green one.
That's lettuce. Sorry, basil. Basil.
All right,
Looks delicious.
so yeah, it smells really good too. So this is fresh basil. You can use dried basil at home. I'm just gonna, I kind of rolled it a little bit. And I'm giving it a little chop. Dried basil, when I made this at home, I had a bunch of fresh basil used that I froze this summer. Okay. So the basil's going in the tomato sauce. This is a super easy recipe. It takes almost no time to prepare. Stirring that in and letting it heat through. So how do you feel about fish, Dr. Kindle?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Exciting. I love it.
What's your favorite, what's your go-to meal? Like
Fish.
Good answer.
Either that or basil. I love basil.
When you get home from work and you walk in the house, like what are you excited about that your wife has prepared?
Again, we're a crock pot based family,
Okay.
and so whatever can
That's
be
good.
thrown in the crock pot.
Okay, good.
Potatoes, pork chops,
Crock
you name
pots
it.
are excellent.
They are. They are.
So
As long as you don't overcook it.
I also hear that Dr. Kindle is a collegiate swimmer, or was a
I
collegiate.
was.
I mean, obviously.
30 years ago.
Was at one time a collegiate swimmer.
That's right.
So he has any aspirations going to the Olympics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which did not pan out. And so I became a pain doctor instead. So that was my second choice, of course.
There you go. Got to have a backup plan, right?
It was. Yeah.
All right, so I put the cod into the tomato sauce. We're going to let that start warming up a little bit, and then we're going to put our Mediterranean-inspired toppings on there. You can use any white fish that you want for this. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of pepper on it. And then, let's see. I'm going to have Dr. Kendall hand me the capers, the little tiny green ones that you thought
Perfect.
was basil. Perfect.
Basil's good.
Basil's got it actually is a flower.
There you go.
It has a very salty, briny taste, so good about tablespoon of capers into there. You'll notice I didn't add any salt to this. We're going to add lots of salty, savory flavor with our capers and olives, which is the next ingredient. So the Kalamata olives, I'm going to have you hand me that bowl as well.
Anchovies?
Anchovies, Kalamata. An
Looks like
important
grapes.
part of the Mediterranean diet. Olives, obviously olive oil is made out of olives. Oh, nice. And these have been, I believe, pre-pitted. Usually there's a big pit in here. You'll want to take that out, or if you don't take it out when you put it in here, you'll at least want to not consume it. So we're going to use about 8 olives. We're going to save the rest for our next dish. I'm going to give those just a quick chop. Because do you like olives? Today you do, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're pretty salty, so I don't really like to bite into a whole olive because of
Right.
how salty they are, but I do like them
Me neither.
as a flavor.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sprinkle those right on top of the fish, and then I'm going to steal the lemon and just give that a quick slice. So in your college swimming days,
Mm-hmm.
I know every athlete has a go-to pre-race meal.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a go-to
No.
pre-race meal?
That was the rare exception.
A rare exception. Well, what did you feel the
Well-
best eating before a competition?
Honestly, wherever they served at the dining hall was essentially what we ate. So it was a very limited
No.
selection.
Well,
It's
so-
usually either a meat or a pasta.
A meat or a pasta?
Right.
But carbs are important before,
They can be. They sure can be.
before an event like that. You
Yep,
know, certainly
absolutely.
tried, I'm sure, to get some carbs before
Mm-hmm.
your race or event. So, all right, lemons. I'm just going to go ahead and place the lemons over the fish. Just kind of evenly distributed. I love lemons in fish dishes because it really cuts through that fishy taste. Really cuts back on that. That's what most people don't like when they're eating fish. You know, they don't like that fishy taste, so it cuts back on that, the acid in it. Plus, it's loaded with vitamin C, which is really good this time of the year because everybody's sick. So vitamin C helps your immune system. It also is really good for your skin. So want good skin, eat some lemons, put it on fish. It gets nice and warm on the fish. And I love just squeezing a lemon over the fish, and that it has a different flavor once it's heated through. That is amazing. So you'll have to try it. So that's just going to cook for a little bit on low. Again, we will see how this goes. We're doing an experiment. Usually you would pop it in a 375-degree oven for about 15 minutes uncovered, and then it's ready to go, or until it flakes easily with a fork. If it's flaking with a fork, that means it's done. So, and I think I mentioned it before, but you can use any white fish in this recipe.
Things just aren't the way they used to be. Whatever happened to businesses that were eager to please you? At Krill Funeral Service, we offer the same outstanding service we offered decades ago. Are we hopelessly out of style? We certainly hope so. Krill Funeral Service, 860 West Mulberry Street in Bryan.
Hey everybody, it's Dieter Held here with Darryl Shirkey Ford Lincoln in Montpelier, Ohio. We talk a lot about having the best prices and best selection in our area, but our #1 goal is to provide the customer with an excellent experience. From the beginning to the end of the deal, we want your interest to be at the front of our minds to provide you with the best fun and stress-free buying experience we possibly can.
Give us a call or stop in and see us at Darryl Shirkey Ford Lincoln in Montpelier, Ohio. We look forward to helping you.
You may want one of these.
Why is that?
You're about to enter the coldest place in Bryan. The Beer Cave at the Bryan Main Stop. We stock the largest selection of beer in the city. We keep it ice cold because who wants warm beer?
Not me.
Here, let me help you with that.
Oh, why, thank you. But I didn't quite catch your name.
Bryan Main Stop.
The beer is so cold at the Bryan Main Stop, you'll probably need a coat.
This is my story.
I'm a beekeeper in a small town in Ohio, and I've been born and raised into agriculture my whole life. I already had my business when I went to Northwest State, so as I was learning, a lot of the things that they were teaching us were so crucial that I was applying them directly to my business. So I was growing my business with my education.
You know, gathering with those we love, we get to catch up and we get to reflect on the past.
It seems like every time we get together, I always learn something new.
Here's the front page of the Columbus Dispatch when we won state baseball tournament, sliding into home plate.
Look at that, the front page. And that's a neat picture.
That was a great memory. I'll never forget that.
At Oberlin Turnbull Funeral Home, we understand that there are special memories that need to be remembered and shared.
When we moved into our new facility, I was a little worried about Bob. Bob really loved our temporary office pod. In fact, he was so comfortable, it was a bit concerning. The good news is that Bob has really embraced our new building and has seemed to settle into his new surroundings here at Bryan Ford Lincoln. Now I have a new concern. What's that old saying? People in glass offices should not wear bathrobes? We make buying a vehicle very comfortable here at Bryan Ford Lincoln.
So let's get started on our veggies. I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not going to use all of this onion. This is a recipe that you don't really need a recipe for. So we're going to use, obviously you have a recipe in front of you, and there's some suggestions for measurements and ingredients, but you can change it a little bit if you'd like. All right, so I'm not going to use this whole onion because it's very large. Taking the papery layer off. Well, I'll have to tell you, when I never was a collegiate athlete, but I was a high school athlete, and actually I continued my distance running into, my adult life. I've run a full marathon, the Grand Rapids Marathon.
Very nice.
And I've done several half marathons. So really into running, and my favorite pre-race meal, usually the races are in the morning, so it's, the night before I'm always eating butternut squash. Butternut squash is my thing because it's rich in carbohydrate
Sure.
and loaded with vitamin A. So that's always the night before, butternut squash and some type of protein or pasta. And then the morning of the race, we get up early to start fueling for it. And I've got to have my oatmeal, yogurt, banana, and my husband actually, because we do this together, he has to have a sweet potato in the morning before a race. So I'll sometimes partake in the sweet potato consumption as well.
Very good.
But, uh-oh. We may have a, oops, there we go. Got it. Maybe not. Yes.
Perfect.
Panicking a little bit. That's never happened before. Okay. All right, so I have my skillet warming up with a little bit of olive oil, and I'm going to throw in my onions. Then, that little green thing in front of you, zucchini.
You got it.
Yeah. So actually there's two colors of zucchini. Some people call it summer squash, but some people also call it yellow zucchini and green zucchini. So I thought it'd be pretty to use both of them today, just to add a little bit of color to our dish. But if you only have the yellow or you only have the green, whatever goes.
Either will do. Perfect.
So I'll have you hand me one of the yellow and one of the green.
Perfect.
And you're going to cut up the other ones.
Okay. Great.
All right, so yep, just cutting the tops off. What I am going to do for this recipe is cut it in half. And then cut each half in half again, sort of, maybe. This one's kind of curved funny. We'll do our best, but we're just going to kind of dice it into like little quarter circles. I'm going to check on this onion and see how that's doing. All right. And then those can all go in with the onions as well as the rest of our garlic is going to go in right now. This dish comes together very quickly. Good planning going yellow first, because I did the green first, so it already looks gorgeous in the pan.
It is quite attractive.
He's so enthusiastic.
You want to cut this one as well?
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yep. Sometimes I put potatoes in this as well, but since we're serving it with a pasta, we decided to leave the potatoes out this time. Oops. All right. So obviously, zucchini and summer squash are very plentiful in the summertime, but they're actually available all year long at a reasonable price. So this is a really economical vegetable dish. It's rare that I can't find zucchini and summer squash available, and they're usually pretty good. This is one of my husband's favorite dishes that I make at home, vegetable-wise. All right, looking good. Perfect, see, he can cook. He just doesn't have time to. He has more important things to do, right?
Just like she said.
Your patients are very thankful for that.
Yeah, they are.
So, how long have you been here at the Bryan Hospital?
5 years.
5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And where were you prior to being in Bryan?
I practiced in Findlay,
Okay.
and then in Fremont prior to that.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Well, we're lucky to have you here in Bryan.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So now we're going to add our savory flavorings to this dish. I'm going to have you hand me the roasted red peppers. So these are just jarred roasted red peppers, and they're already chopped for me today. You could also swap out sun-dried tomatoes for this.
Ooh, sounds good.
Which I love sun-dried tomatoes as well. So it's a tough choice for me which one to use in this recipe, but I do like the bright red of the roasted red pepper. They're going to add kind of a sweetness to this dish. And then we're going to do some more Kalamata olives. So olives are great for you. Their only downfall is they do tend to be a little bit salty. So salt is generally something that most people are trying to reduce in their diet. But notice that we're not going to add any salt to either of these dishes. The salt is coming from the olives, the capers, the roasted red peppers. So we're not adding any additional salt. It's really hard to find like low sodium olives. Actually, I have tried them once and I immediately spit it back out. To me, an olive just should be salty. I actually wasn't aware that it was not a salted olive, and when I put it in my mouth, I thought that it was like rancid or something. They have kind of a bitter flavor, so you can try it, but I might not recommend it. Again, I like a lot of food, so if I spit it out, then it's probably not that good. Olives the composition of them is primarily fat, but one of the key aspects of the Mediterranean diet is incorporating healthy fats. So olives, olive oil, nuts, and seeds, which our final step, as soon as this is cooked through, we're going to add some walnuts to the top of the vegetable dish. So it's going to give it a nice crunch. So you have all of the good stuff in here. You have the vegetables, of course, which is undeniably good. And then you have the salty olives and the salty or sweet red peppers, the savory aromatic garlic and onion, and then to top it all off, a nice crunch from the walnuts. So, and at the end here, as soon as this is done, hopefully, our fish is almost done over there, I'm going to show you how to build a plate for an athlete. So, realistically, most athletes in this room are not, running marathons or, participating in Olympic events. So we might have some weekend warriors in here, or some people that casually participate in, some sports and things like that. So I'm going to show you how to build a plate for that. For the athlete that exercises, maybe your high school athletes at home, weekend warriors, and then I can show you how to modify it as well for people that might be trying to lose weight, and for a race day as well. So on a competition, how we're going to change our plate to enhance performance. All right, so those look really good to me. So I think I'm going to turn our heat off. You just want the vegetables like a crisp tender. There's nothing worse than a mushy, waterlogged vegetable. So I think part of our issue with vegetables is we don't always prepare them in an appetizing way. We're boiling them or soaking them in water, but when we treat vegetables in a special way, when we, treat our vegetables like we might treat a prime cut of beef, then they really become a lot more appetizing. So, and that's one of the main focuses of the Mediterranean diet as well, not making meat the primary focus of our meal, but making the plant foods a primary focus, our vegetables and our whole grains, and then the meat is kind of an afterthought, like, oh yeah, we're having the meat with this, or today we're having fish with it, so it is a focus, but it's a healthier protein choice. But some other Mediterranean ideas, for a balanced meal might be like a stir fry, where you have a little bit of meat in there, lots of veggies, and then serving it over a nice whole grain, like either brown rice or quinoa. If you've ever had quinoa or a whole grain pasta, something like that. That comes to mind when I'm thinking of Mediterranean fare. It's not necessarily a big heaping plate of pasta, white pasta with breadsticks. That's not really the Mediterranean diet. So let's see how our fish is doing. It looks really good, actually. I think our experiment may have worked. It's kind of splattering tomato sauce at me. It's definitely bubbling in there. So I'm going to do it. Actually, I'm just going to turn it off. I'm going to do a little fork test and see if it's flaking. And it's definitely flaking, so it's definitely ready to go. I'm going to use this little doodad here. And I guess my plate is down at the other end, the square plate down there.
You got
Not
it.
the platter, the plate. Yeah. So we're going to dish up a plate for an athlete. So first and foremost, half the plate should be your veggies. And this is really for everybody. You don't have to be an athlete for this. Everybody would benefit from making half their plate vegetables. We all should be eating more veggies. Okay, and then we're going to add a little bit of our pasta. So this is our chickpea pasta that our audience members, I have a mess here. Excuse the noise. Our audience members did get to sample today. So I'm going to make that a quarter of the plate. And then the remaining quarter is your protein. So look at that beautiful sauce and the beautiful lemon. I'm going to put another lemon on there just because they're so pretty and so delightful. You can put a little bit of sauce up on your pasta. And that's the perfect plate for an athlete. That's training. If it was a competition day, I would probably add more pasta because for a competition you're going to need more carbs to get through your event, I guess, whatever event you're training for. Somebody that's trying to lose weight, I would probably decrease the pasta a little bit, maybe add a little bit extra protein. But yeah, definitely a healthy meal for everybody. So Dr. Kendall, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
us
it.
Today.
My pleasure.
The audience definitely appreciated having you here. Thanks for taking the time out of your day.
Absolutely.
Thank you to our audience at home and our audience here at the hospital for joining us. It was lovely seeing you all today.
Thank you.